and under.
Hey everyone, Eric from Country Living Experience. I am so excited to show you this method for planting a tree. It is a method that's been handed down for roughly 120 years, and it is one of the best ways, one of the most amazing ways to plant a tree to yield high brix food. So we're planting our fruit trees here in our orchard, and we not only want to plant organically and not use pesticides and herbicides, but we want tasteful, sweet, high mineralized, highly nutritious foods. And if you study the Brix scale, that's an indication of how many sugars, carbohydrates, and it directly relates to how the flavor of the fruit is. And this method is a sure method. Although it is very labor intensive, this method here that I'm going to show you is going to take about an hour and a half. Obviously I'll edit the video, but you are going to be pleasantly surprised. I urge you to just try it. Even with just one tree, give it a shot. Even though it's labor intensive and it takes a little while to do, you're going to be very happy. So let's look at what we have to amend our soil. Let's look at what we have in terms of some other things for the tree to give it the best chance to grow the most delicious fruit possible. Okay, let's go over the amendments and tools that we're going to need to complete this method of tree planting. First off, and very important, is soft rock phosphate. It has a little bit of calcium in it, but the main purpose for this is a transporter for the other nutrients to the tree roots. And we're going to need per tree roughly about 2 pounds. We're going to need some dehydrated ocean water, some sea solids. This one I picked up from a company called C90. It has 90 different minerals contained within it. It's going to enrich the soil greatly. We've also got some kelp meal, some dehydrated seaweed. This has nitrogen and potash contained within it, and it is just highly mineralized as well. It's very nutritious for the plant. We have some gypsum, which is a source of calcium, and calcium is what makes that fruit amazingly sweet and tasteful, and it contributes a lot to that nutrient-dense fruit that we are looking for. We're going to need some humus. We're going to need some sphagnum peat moss. We're going to need some topsoil. I've got a little dolomite lime here for some additional calcium. I have some small rocks here. I've got a large rock, and I have a small bucket, sturdy small bucket. I'll show you what that's for. Also, I've got behind me some compost. I've got some gopher wire for the tree. I've also got my beautiful Sam Houston peach. If you can see it directly behind me here, that's the one we're planting today. And that's all you're going to need to get started. I use a shovel. I use a 10-tine pitchfork, and I use a leaf rake here. You can mix this on the grass and then put it into the hole, or if it's easier for you, bring out a piece of plywood and mix it on there. It's a little difficult in a wheelbarrow, but you can do that as well. So let me get started by telling you what we're going to do first here. We are going to take our bucket, we're going to take our bucket here and we're going to place it face down in the bottom of the hole. Now this seems like an unusually large hole. It is, because we are going to pack around this tree and deeply for the roots as much nutrient dense, rich soil as we possibly can. And this hole for this potted 1 gallon tree here is 3 foot wide by 3 foot long by 3 foot deep. Seems like a huge hole and there's a lot of work to dig, but this is going to give us, and the tree actually, the best chance of really soaking in all that amazing nutrient density around it, and growing up to be a really, really healthy tree. So in the bottom third of the hole, we're going to mix our compost, about 20 pounds of peat humus, our topsoil, about 20 pounds, and roughly 8 to 10 shovels full of peat moss. Now be careful of the peat moss, it's acidic. You don't want to use too much of it, okay? So let's be very careful of that. So we're going to mix that up here, and then we're going to add our amendments to it. Okay, first thing we're going to do here is we're going to turn our bucket over and set it in the center, in the bottom of the hole. What that's going to do is allow air to sit in the bottom of the hole. And as you know, oxygen is also needed for plant roots. So if you have light, fluffy, aerated soil, then that tree is going to be that much more healthier than if you planted in dense, nutrient deficient soil. So we're placing that bucket in the bottom there to help always retain air in the bottom of the hole. Next, we're going to put our gopher cage down there. This in particular is a 3 foot tall gopher wire, and you don't have to come out this far. I just didn't feel like cutting it, so you don't have to come out this far out of the hole, but gophers usually won't jump over about 2 to 3 inches of wire above the hole. They'll leave it alone, so this one kind of covers all of our bases. Next, we are going to mix our first layer. So we're going to fill the bottom third of the hole with our first mixture, and that is our compost. Like I said, about 20 pounds of the humus. About 20 pounds, give or take, of our topsoil. Now, we're going to use also some of our topsoil that we pulled out of the hole. However, we don't have much topsoil here. It's a lot of clay, and that's why I'm using this extra topsoil. If you live in an area where you have great topsoil, really no need to buy that. To that, we're going to add our peat moss. Now what this peat moss does is helps retain moisture in the bottom of your hole. It is an excellent, excellent way to soak up and retain water. Like I said, be careful, it's acidic. It's used heavily in planting blueberries, and we'll show you how to do that later. That's about all we're going to use. So from there, I'm going to take my 10-tine fork and just start mixing. Let's get this all incorporated into itself, and then we're going to add our amendments. All right, for our sea, dehydrated ocean water, or sea solids,
you're going to want to rehydrate them, dilute them in some water, about 20 ounces, give or take. That's about how much, well, actually about 16 ounces. This cup's, I think, 32. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour half of this on our first layer here. We're going to take about a cup and a half of, about half a cup, about a pound and a half of the dolomite, the soft rock phosphate. Actually, that's a little much. We're going to add about a pound of kelp meal. Roughly half a pound of gypsum. Okay, incorporate everything in, mix it thoroughly. You can see how amazingly nutrient dense this is going to be. The soil is going to give this tree an amazing boost. Alright, now that first layer goes into the hole. Careful of your bucket or whatever you put in the bottom of the hole to hold the air. It does not fill up. A bucket is nice. You can put a corrugated tube under there, a drain pipe, drain tile, but make sure you cap the ends with some rocks so that it doesn't fill up with mud. And this is why I have the rake, to just rake in the rest of our mixture off the grass next to it. Obviously, like I said, this would be easier with a piece of plywood, but this works just as well. Make sure everything's evenly distributed, and then tamp it down. careful, make sure you don't crush the bucket. Now after that, we're going to add back about a third of our topsoil, slash out here we have a lot of sand or sandy loam. It seems to be more sand than loam, but we're going to add that back and we're going to fill up the next third of the hole. But before we do that, we're going to add our rock layer. It doesn't have to be thick. So, you're probably thinking that rock layer is for drainage. It is not. There's a study from, I don't remember what branch of science he's in, but Ian Jones studied the electrical magnet properties of rocks. And what this rock layer does is it changes the electricity, the flow of electricity in the hole. Go check him out, Ian Jones, and you'll be amazed at those results as well. Okay, now that we've got our layer of topsoil, we mix up another batch of our high nutrient soil here without the peat moss. That goes in the bottom layer. So everything that I told you before, the compost, the topsoil, the bag topsoil, and the humus together here, we are going to utilize the remaining half of our ocean water. We're going to do the same amounts again for rock phosphate. Our gypsum and our kelp meal. Incidentally, I found most of these ingredients on Amazon, and there are only a few of them that our big box stores had in the area, and they were actually more expensive. So I had them delivered straight to the door via Amazon. But this actually is the second bag of kelp meal. I did find this at my local feed store. Okay, remember that big rock I was talking about? On the top of our topsoil here, we're going to add that big rock in. Now what that big rock is going to do is going to act as an anchor for the tree. And we're going to put that tree just above it in our good mixture. And that's going to allow the roots to hit this rock and spread out in all directions, giving that tree more stability. So that's what this baby is for. If you can find a little bit bigger one, that's great. But this is all I had. Time to mix this batch up. Actually, before I forget, we're going to put a little dolomite limestone on it. About a pound. We're gonna get some a few shovelfuls of our rich soil here, kind of put it around the rock, and then we're going to put our tree in here. A little bit on top of the rock. However much to bring it up to the proper level to plant this tree at. And you don't want it too high, too low, about at the same level. Now I can see the nursery here actually has a little bit too much soil in here. You want to be above the graft, or below the graft, sorry, about 2 to 3 inches. This is a little much. We're going to continue to dig out here until we find our graft. You're going to want to face that graft union, the low side of it, the low angle, away from your southwesterly sun. So you're going to want to face it to the north, northwest. And I can see that I need to turn this tree this way, our graft union. We don't want it to get sunburned. So these trees are root bound, which is great. And they will easily come out of the pot here. Actually, this one kind of fell apart, so now we got essentially a bare root tree that was very, very light soil. I'm going to dig back down near our rock and place this on top. And we're going to root this in here, get this solidified. Sometimes you can water the pot, but it comes in and you'll help it to stick together better. But that one was very wet from our rain yesterday, and it just kind of fell apart. It was very, very loose soil. Although I could pick up the tree from the trunk, and the pot would stay on it. Make sure you get this straight up and down. You don't want any lean in the tree. You want it very stable. Don't worry if you're a little short. You can fill it in with some topsoil or some compost. I always end up a little bit short. It's hard to judge these holes. It's always good to mix up a batch that is more than what you need, but like I said, it's tough to judge. Let's throw some compost in here. All right, we're very close to being done. As you can see, I've laid out about 1 inch of compost inside the rest. I took the rest of our clay that was in the bottom of the hole and the rest of the topsoil that was over there, and I created a well here to hold water in this area. The well should be about twice the diameter of the hole, so if your hole is 3 feet, it should be about 6 feet, give or take. Next thing, I put about 1 inch of compost, and now I'm going to use mulch, and I'm going to mulch the whole area. You can use rock mulch, you can use wood chips like I'm using, and we're going to mulch this whole thing, and then we're going to water in the tree. Now we're going to water it in with 20 gallons, and then we're going to continue our normal watering cycle after that. Each week, probably another inch or so of water. Just monitor the health of your trees and water appropriately for your area. And that will conclude how we plant this tree using the Ellen White method from roughly 120 years ago. And this is going to give you high bricks, nutritious, flavorful food. It's going to help the tree to thrive and prosper. And yeah, you are going to be very happy. Now, if you don't have those amendments or you can't afford them, don't worry about putting everything in there. Do what you can do. The sea solids, they're $5 for a pound. And I used on 8 trees, about £1.25. So there you go. It's free shipping on C90.com, and it's very affordable. I think the kelp meal was $17 at my local feed store. The topsoil is like $2 a bag at your big box store. The peat moss is a little more expensive, but I didn't even use an entire brick of it. I don't know how much is in there, like 3-4 cubic feet in that box. The rock phosphate, which is very important, you really need to get this. This was, I think, $25 for 28 pounds, so very affordable, less than $1 a pound. The gypsum, oh, the gypsum was, I want to say, about $15 for 5 pounds. So you can see, I just ran out of the gypsum on my 8th tree. I only have 9 trees to plant. There we go. I probably won't put it in the next hole. Maybe I'll buy some to have it around. Anyway, no big deal if you don't have all these things. No big deal if you don't have a big rock. But all these things combined together are going to make for an amazing, amazing planting process and amazing fruit. If you have any questions, please ask us. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Be kind, everyone. We've had some profanity on the site before. This is a family channel. Please be kind in your questions. And I guarantee you, if you do this method, you're going to be very satisfied. Even though this is a long process and it takes a lot of work and is backbreaking, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Thank you, everyone. Subscribe to the channel. Go visit us on countrylivingexperience.com. We've got our own Facebook page. Give us a like, a thumbs up on the video, and we will see you next time.